The reason that I'm so passionate about behavior change is it's at the root of everything. If you want what you don't have, something about what you're doing has to change, period. And if you don't want to change anything ever, then either you're in a perfect place in life or you've accepted where you're at. And in either case, kudos to you. But for the rest of us, we need change. And change is hard. It's kind of the whole point of the show. What if there were a scientifically studied formula that you could use to create or change any behavior? It turns out there is. Welcome to Change Made Easy. Changing your habits, routines, and behaviors is hard. We make it easy. I'm Paul Leviton, a board-licensed coach who has been helping people just like you create positive, lasting change in their health, wealth, and relationships for over 10 years. Albert Bandura said, "People's beliefs about their abilities have a profound effect on those abilities." Albert Bandura was the father of self-determination theory, a psychological framework that revolutionized how we understand people and behavior. Through his research and the research that followed, we now have 3 pillars that need to be in place for you to be able to create positive change in your life. A lot of people say motivation is just a feeling, it comes and it goes. But after this episode, you'll understand that motivation is like a muscle. And with the right exercise and technique, you can hone it and make it stronger to use for your advantage. It's that simple. Now, let's make it easy. For as long as there have been humans, the simple questions of why have perplexed us. Why are we the way that we are? Why do we do the things that we do? And for many behavioral scientists and psychologists, the question is actually, why don't we do the things that we say that we will do? Why do we commit to things but not follow through, even when it's to our own detriment? Why do you do things that are against your own best interest? This is my whole mission with this podcast and this brand, helping you understand the why behind the what, so that you can make the changes you need to make to live a full, fulfilling life. It turns out, scientists have studied this and actually have a pretty sound model for what makes us undertake new behaviors. In 2011, Susan Michie and her colleagues were studying how and why behavior change actually happens. What they came up with was, in my opinion, the most concise and important model of behavior change out there, known as the C.O.M.B model, or C.O.M.B, like you comb your hair. So the C.O.M.B model, C.O.M.B, stands for C, capability, O, opportunity, and M, motivation. And those 3 factors combine to change your B, behavior. So C-O-M-B. Capability refers to an individual's psychological and physical ability to participate in an activity. Opportunity is the external factors that make a behavior possible. And motivation is the conscious and unconscious cognitive processes that direct and inspire behavior. This model recognizes that behavior is influenced by many factors, and that behavior changes happen by modifying at least one of these 3 components. So importantly, all 3 pieces factor into creating change. But it's important to realize that it's not to mean that you have to have each one of them completely. It's more of a spectrum. Think of it like a pie chart. So sometimes it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. But sometimes it's a sliding scale. If you're lacking in one area, you can make up for it with more of another. And that's why this is important to talk about. It's good news for you because it means that you can actively manage the individual pieces to help move you towards your desired behavior and your desired change. Hey, real quick, we'll be back to the show in just a few seconds, but right now I have to ask you for a huge favor. If you're getting value out of this episode so far, take 2 seconds and share it with a friend. I mean, right now, literally, hit the little share button and send it in a text to your roommate or your cousin or your mom or your brother or your sister. Seriously, spread the love. If you like what you're hearing, then that's the best way that you can show support for this show. Because maybe you're like Eliza Kay, who said, "This podcast is both warm and inviting, but real enough to push and motivate me." Or you're like Dalton, who said, "Paul is an amazing host, and his podcast is a must listen." Don't you want to share this awesomeness with your friends and family? Don't be a gatekeeper. It only takes a second. It helps me grow and reach a new audience, and you seem like a genius friend who recommends new, awesome podcasts. We all win. All right? Go send that text. And now, let's get back to the show. Here's an example. Remember the acronym C.O.M.B, C-O-M-B. Capability, opportunity, and motivation combined to make your behavior. So a lot of people talk about motivation. You've probably said in the past, I'm just not motivated to do blank. But now you can see that motivation is only part of the puzzle. Let's say that your motivation is actually low. It's only 5% rather than the 33% it would be if it was truly 1/3 of the pie. That's fine because you can pick up that slack by increasing your capability or your opportunity or both. So let's break it down a little bit more. Capability, as defined by the original researchers, was an individual's psychological and physical ability to participate in an activity. So exactly as it sounds, do you have the capacity, the capability to actually undertake the task at hand? And again, this is both physical and mental. So to use a common example that you might be looking to improve, exercise habits. Capability is the literal physical ability to do the exercise. So if your goal is to run a marathon and you've never run before, that task is too big for you to undertake, so you literally don't have the capability or the capacity. And that would be something that would get in the way of you being able to achieve that goal. But that's assuming you're trying to run a marathon right out of the gate. What if your goal was to run for just 5 minutes or to walk to the end of the block? That might be within your capability, which would make that behavior much more likely to stick. Which makes sense. If you can't do something, you can't do it. And yet, how often have you found yourself setting goals that are so far out of your current capabilities that you end up trashing them completely? Say, I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes a day every day, but I've never meditated before. I'm going to lift weights 5 days a week, even though I haven't lifted since high school. I'm going to build a business from scratch, even though I have no understanding of how to build or maintain a business on my own. And that last one is a reminder that it's not just about physical ability. It's also about mental know-how. When you're lifting weights or climbing or playing tennis or even running, yes, it's important to physically have the strength to do the thing. But understanding form and technique is equally as important. And that's a big step that people skip over. Or if they try to skip over it, then they get frustrated when they don't understand why they aren't making progress and they aren't sticking to the goal. Because the fact of the matter is, knowledge is power. And this is not just in a hypothetical or metaphorical sense. Literally, when it comes to moving your body, moving weights in the gym, knowledge literally equates to more power. The best power lifters, the best Olympic lifters, climbers, rowers, whatever, they're not simply stronger than everyone else. They are better. They have better technique and better form, which comes from countless hours of practice, but it also comes from literal studying. People who want to be better at lifting watch videos on lifting. They learn form, they learn physics, they learn about body mechanics and levers and all of the other pieces that go into what lifting weights is. The saying is true. If you know better, you actually do better. If you think that it's just as simple as lifting a weight, that's an understatement that leads to a reduced capability, mentally and physically, that will end up reducing the likelihood of you actually adopting the desired behavior, which is consistently exercising. That means if you want a behavior to stick, you need to practice it to increase your capability both physically and mentally. Practice makes perfect, but so does studying, coaching, mentoring, reading. All of these things increase your capacity over multiple layers. So that's giving you both the physical and the mental. So someone who's excited about lifting weights and is ready to get started, but they don't have the proper guidance or a ramp up, so to speak, to get them running, they often find themselves stuck. They are motivated. They have the opportunity, right? C-O-M. They have O and M, but they are lacking in the capability, C. So that's capability. O is opportunity, which again was defined as the external factors that make a behavior possible. This is basically the outside stuff that can either help you or hold you back. So these are things like your schedule, your job, where you live, your partner, even the weather, the election cycle, inflation, literally everything outside of you. Very often, people will get super pumped about creating a new change when they're really thinking about having the change, not doing the change. When I managed my gym, I had these conversations all the time. People would come in excited. They're like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do this. And they do a good workout and they feel good. And they're like, all right, I feel so good. I can't believe that I have never done this before. Like, I want to do this every day. But then reality sets in. Meetings run late. The kids need to get picked up from ballet class. There's traffic. The class you wanted to sign up for is full. You can have very real intentions of doing the thing, but the realities of making it happen can get in the way. In this scenario, capability and motivation are high, but opportunity is low. During COVID, we all remember the supply chain issues. So if you were motivated to start a business building chicken coops, you had the capability because you had built them on your farm growing up for your whole life. However, opportunity would have gotten in the way because lumber was impossible to come by and prohibitively expensive. And then the final piece, and the most commonly talked about in this behavior change model, is obviously motivation. When looking at the definition laid out by the researchers, this one is a little bit more complicated. They define motivation as the conscious and unconscious cognitive processes that direct and inspire behavior. But I'll make it a little bit simpler. Do you want the thing? And do you want to do the thing? And both of those are important. There's a key distinction between the two. Do you want the thing is obvious. This is what most people consider motivation. Do you want the result? Do you want the weight loss? Do you want the successful business? Do you want a better relationship with your partner or your kids? Whatever the end goal is, if you want that thing, that's a piece of what motivation is. You are motivated to have that thing, but that's not the whole picture. Going back to the definition, it says cognitive processes that direct and inspire behavior. So to be motivated, wanting the thing is not enough. If wanting it doesn't get you to do the behavior, meaning true motivation results in action. That's why the second part is, do you want to do the thing? Yes, it's easy to be motivated toward a result. Who doesn't want to be fit, rich, and happy? But are you motivated to take the action that will get you to the result? If you're failing over and over to take the action and make the behavior consistent, then evidence would say that you're not actually motivated to do the action to get the result. That's why in my easier methodology, it starts with E for enthusiasm. And it's not enthusiasm about the end result, but more specifically, enthusiasm about the day-to-day action steps that get you there. Because when you look at the two parts of motivation, having the result and doing the action, both can be motivating. The first one is much easier. Of course, I've said over and over, it's easy to get excited about something when you aren't thinking about what it takes to get there. The second part of motivation, the motivation towards action, takes into account the full picture, which includes capability and opportunity. So you can start to see how all of these interlock and work together. That means when people complain about a lack of motivation, it's usually because they are motivated to have the thing, but not motivated to do the action. And there's an inverse relationship where the more important the outcome is, it can be possible to rely more on the first type of motivation, but it's still not ideal. So for instance, I've seen a lot of people commit to the most brutal, unsustainable exercise and weight loss routines when they have a wedding 6 months from now. Or expecting a new parents will change lots of things because the outcome motivation is so high, the change is so important that it will make the input or action steps necessary almost irrelevant. If you learn that you or your partner are pregnant, you'll stop smoking and change your drinking habits immediately. So for something that's extremely important and time sensitive, it can be enough to rely only on the goal-focused motivation. Unfortunately, most things don't fall into that category. For most things that you're trying to change, the best course of action is to simplify or make it easier and make the action steps that will get you to the goal that much easier so that you're more motivated to take them on a day-to-day basis. That way you aren't fighting yourself every literal and metaphorical step of the way. So now that you understand each piece of the C.O.M.B model, you can also easily see how to use them to create sustained behavior change. If motivation for a result is high, but you aren't motivated toward the action, then you have to look to increase either your capability or your opportunity or both. Increasing your capability is about skilling up. You have to get better either physically or mentally. The dumbest kid in class is scared to be called on, but the student who studied their butt off and prepared, their hand shoots up. They're ready for the challenge. They are capable. Increasing your opportunity is about cultivating your environment. So environment in this sense is, again, everything outside of and around you. Your schedule, your home, your route to work, your support system. Use those things to make it easier to do the thing and make the thing more appealing by making it fit inside of all of your current limitations. So yes, meal prepping might be a great way to lose weight, but if you don't have the time or energy to do it, then that doesn't really matter. Maybe just changing your order from your normal takeout place from a burger and fries to a salad is a big enough of a change that falls within your opportunity zone. So your action step this week: take a behavior that you're trying to change and look at it through the C.O.M.B lens, especially if it's something you felt you just aren't quote unquote motivated about, and see if it's either C, capability, O, opportunity, or truly M, motivation that's getting in the way. Then you can reverse engineer it to make it easier, which will inherently increase your motivation and make you more likely to do the thing and show up for yourself. Interestingly, maybe ironically, basically this whole show and everything I do is lightly based on the principles I just discussed in this episode. My goal with this show is to increase your capacity, show you how you can expand your opportunity, all with the hopes that you will see that and let it lead to more motivation. And obviously, ideally, the result is sustained and consistent behavior change. Knowledge literally is power. That's how you create the life you've been dreaming of. That's change made easy. Before you go, I just have to ask you for a huge favor. If you enjoyed or got value from this episode at all, then take a moment and leave a rating and review in the podcast app that you're listening or watching on. If you like the show and you want me to continue to create more episodes and be able to get awesome guests that will help make changing your life easier, then this is the best way you can show support. You can leave a 5-star review on iTunes like Eliza K, who said, "This podcast is both warm and inviting, but real enough to push and motivate me." Thank you, Eliza. Or you can be like Dalton, who said, "Paul is an amazing host and his podcast is a must listen." Thank you, Dalton. And thank you to all of the over 100 people who have taken the time to rate and review this show 5 stars on iTunes, or the dozens who have left 5-star reviews on Spotify. It only takes a minute, and it helps me grow, it helps me reach a new audience, and it lets me know that this is helping someone, which just feels good. All you have to do is go to the show page of whatever app you're listening to and hit the little 5 stars. Or go to the comments section on YouTube and boom, that's it. And if you really want to show love, take a screenshot when you do it and tag me in your stories on social media at Change Made Easy, and I'll shout you out in an upcoming episode. All right, go leave that rating, and I'll see you back here every Tuesday and Thursday with new episodes of Change Made Easy.